Hey everybody, how you doing? It is Wednesday. It is 8 p.m. and college football is finally back. Bill, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
Doing great. Best time of the year. College
Oh,
football get ready to start. Can't
Bill,
get enough.
Bill, I tell you, I know if I call you at 11:59, you're sitting in front of the TV a.m. before noon, and if I call you at midnight, you're still watching probably the same game I am, Bill.
Yep. Several TVs going at the same
Oh,
time too. Best time
thank
of the year.
thank God for picture-in-picture, Bill, during college football season. I tell you.
That's right.
Oh, well, Bill, the last time we talked, it's been 3 or 4 months here, but Georgia back-to-back national championships. I mean, Bill, is this team the dynasty? I mean, is this team what we're looking at? Have they dethroned the Crimson Tide yet?
I think they have. They've got a schedule fit to win another national championship. Uh,
I
we
agree.
can talk a little bit about that. But
Hmm.
with that said, Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator, is gone to the National Football League. Stetson Bennett is gone. A pile of first round draft picks are gone.
Yes.
Uh, they also finished number one in recruiting. So
Yeah.
they are restocking the shelves. But, losing Monken could be a big deal. Bennett, he was good. But the
Hmm.
schedule is soft
It is.
for Georgia this year.
Yes, that is one of the things that, I don't want to call it a cupcake schedule. Still, it is the SEC. Of course, we do have those, juggernaut teams out there that rebuild every year. But it's my question is Stetson Bennett gone? I mean, what are we looking at here? Carson Beck, the quarterback? I mean, a redshirt junior?
That's
What do
what
you
it
see in
looks
him?
like. That's the word out of camp at this point is it will be Beck that's going to
Mhm.
be the guy. Um, we'll see. And I saw an interview with Monken or
Mhm.
with Kirby Smart that Monken told him when he left. He said, "Hey, these position coaches are great. You're
Yeah.
not going to miss a beat. Just let them do their jobs.
Mhm.
Whoever is the coordinator is going to be successful because these assistants, position coaches are really good. Just let them go." So players still have to make plays, though.
Sure, sure. You can practice on the practice field, but they can call the plays, but you have to execute on the natural field every Saturday. But I mean, Joe Sullivan asked a great question, Bill. Do you see anybody knocking off Georgia, which we'll talk about later? But real quick, do you see anybody, dethroning
Well,
the back-to-back champs?
real quick, I have this in front of me. Tennessee Martin, no.
Hmm.
Ball State, South Carolina at home,
Oh, okay.
uh, UAB at home.
Okay,
That's
that's
4
3 and
0.
0. 4 0. Mhm.
At Auburn, Kentucky at home, at Vanderbilt, Florida and Jacksonville, home against Missouri, home
Mhm.
against Ole Miss, at Tennessee, at Georgia Tech. The only chance they have of losing is at
Wow.
Tennessee.
That's the only game. That is the only game there. I mean, they're going with a new quarterback as well. I think the kid Milton is their
Yep.
quarterback, which
Yeah,
he's the transfer from Michigan a year ago.
he
He's
is.
a big quarterback, Bill. Big,
Yep. Yeah.
huge.
He's got a chance to be really good too.
He does.
And maybe by the time they reach whatever that is, week 11, week 12, maybe he'll be the real deal. In the
Yeah.
meantime, Georgia's going to keep getting better too.
Oh,
So that schedule, maybe Auburn sneaks up on them at Auburn,
mhm.
but I don't think so. And Georgia should be leading the charge.
I agree. I mean, you know what, Bill? I will rephrase what I said. I think that is a cupcake schedule. I will rephrase what I said. I definitely will
Right?
regarding that one. But just like I mean, with this defense, we know at Georgia, especially you being an Eagles fan. I mean, it is the place to recruit from defensive line corners. That's where it's at. Even linebackers now. But with a defense like that, Carson Beck, all he has to do, basically, Bill, is manage that game and limit the turnovers with this side of defense.
Yeah, I mean they're going to run the football. It's what they
Hmm.
do. But with that said, I don't want to make any light of Stetson Bennett. He did a lot better
He
job
did.
than he was given credit for over the last two seasons to
Yes.
lead them to national championships. And he made the plays when he had to. He didn't. He never got the respect until
Hmm.
he ended up in New York as a Heisman finalist. But
Yeah, who would have thought that, right? Who would have thought, Stetson
right,
Bennett there? I mean, I remember going into the national championship game, Bill. I've seen so many comments, Stetson Bennett, he's a backup, he's this, he's that. Well, look at the kid's record, number one. And the bugaboo on him was he couldn't run. The second play of the game, he ran 40 yards to the end zone, Bill,
yeah,
for a touchdown. And there, I was that to me was just like, drop the mic. I can't run. I'm here, national championship. Call me what you want. I am Stetson Bennett, back to back
that's right.
champions.
That exactly right. and you know, and no one thought he would be a draft pick. Guess what?
Right,
The NFL did.
Exactly.
You know, and so he ends up getting drafted as well.
Jill Sullivan says he's referring to Brock Bowers. The kid at Georgia looks like a baby Gronk. I mean, I coined the phrase, Michael Mayer that went to the Raiders last year from Notre Dame, baby Gronk. But Brock Bowers, I mean, this guy could be a top 5 pick, Bill, next year.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He's fantastic. He's really good. He can block. He can run. He can catch. He's the whole package, and he should be, barring injury, he should be on everybody's All-American team. And
yes, he's definitely on the All-American team, first team All-American this year. But I tell you what, if I'm Carson Beck, I'm going to follow him like a lost puppy dog because that's my best friend on the team. Playing that guy right there. Oh goodness.
Absolutely, absolutely, and Georgia's going to run the football. It's what they do, and
yes.
They'll be strong up front, and they're going to pound, and play defense.
Kenny Fry, he's the host of the Bat Cave on Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. and also the Atomic Drop on Friday 10:30 p.m. Any chance the Auburn War Eagles toppled the Dogs this year? Well, they don't play Auburn this year.
Yeah, they do. They play.
Oh, they do. That's right. That's right.
Auburn week 5.
Week 5. Okay.
September 30th. We're going to have to see what Auburn does. They have a coaching change again.
Exactly.
We'll have to see how they come out. As we sit here now, I would say no, Auburn's not going to play with Georgia.
Yeah, I don't think Cam Newton's going to hop in the door sometime soon, right. At least to play one position for him. I mean, that'd probably be the only chance they got. But, Bill, as we move further here, Georgia, the big question I have for you is, Ken Fry also asked real quick, we'll stay on this one, is Georgia the new Alabama? What do you think of that? I mean, Alabama was a dynasty. Bill, I'm still not putting Alabama out. I'm never going to do that. Any year, all Nick Saban has to do is, I'm Nick Saban. I am a pro factory. Come play for me. All 5-star recruits. But have they dethroned Alabama yet, Bill?
Well, I mean, you got back-to-back national championships, so you certainly are the king at the moment. But I'm not counting Alabama out. They may sit there at number 2 all season. A little tougher schedule for them, but they may sit there at number 2 and get ready for that SEC championship game. Alabama's way.
I think so too. I think
they have a quarterback situation too.
They do. They definitely do. I mean, you think about Bryce Young's gone here. We'll get into that because one of my Notre Dame guys went there. I'm hearing rumors too. Exactly, that one of the OCs too. So what better way to have a former 1A starter at Notre Dame come to you? We'll talk about that later with Alabama. I want to definitely hear what you want to say about that with the Tommy Rees situation. But now, before we get into that, Bill, is there anything else you want to talk about? Georgia winning the national championship before we move on here.
Well, I think it would be really good if they don't. I don't really want to see a three-peat, but I just don't know who can beat them. But I would be happy, as happy as I was last year when Tennessee knocked off Alabama. I'd be just as happy if Auburn beat Georgia or somebody beat Georgia along the way, just to mix it up, just to keep it going.
It's funny you say that, Bill. I remember that game last year. I think I was jumping up and down. I had no gung ho about the teams that play them, but I just want to see Alabama get dethroned in several ways. And when it happens now I look at it and I want Georgia somewhere to be beaten by any team. Yep. I don't care. I don't care if it's the JV team down the street. I could care less.
Yeah, and the thing about those Alabama losses, they were last second nail biters, field goals. I mean, just great football games. And and if Alabama would have won those games, that would probably been okay too, because they were great football games by both teams. A little more exciting that they didn't win.
Agree. And I mean, I remember going back to last year, Bill, when we talked about the BCS power rankings, who are the top 4 teams? You said it, hey, don't count Alabama out. They're still sitting at the door. Style points do matter. If one of these teams look a little lackluster, you can't knock Alabama out. Maybe they can get in,
Yep.
So very true. What do you want to talk about next, Bill? You want to talk about some transfer porters, or you want to talk about this incredible, NIL contracts that are going around now in the NCAA?
Well, let's talk NIL for just a minute, because it is the wild, wild west out there. And
goodness, Bill.
Look at that. I mean, Arch Manning never even took his $3.7 million, but that's how they put tags on these guys.
Yes,
that this is their value. I I saw an article with Pat Narducci at Pitt where they basically had $1 million. The team was given $1 million, or not the team. They're not allowed to. They're not allowed to do it. But the whatever they call that group that does them. And what he wanted to do, or he did, is every player got $10,000.
Wow.
So he's got 100 guys or whatever. They all got $10,000. However he did it. But he was trying, his thought is to build team unity where the quarterback is not getting $1 million and the guard is getting 2,000. You know, he tried to spread it out. Whether you can actually recruit that way or not in the long haul, I don't know. But the fact these guys are making so much money is just really crazy.
Bill, I tell you, I mean, I watched the Hall of Fame, you know, getting off track here, but when we watched the Hall of Fame, I heard Joe Klecko say what his annual salary was, you know, versus an Aaron Donald category, what he's making. Right. Bill, I almost fell off my seat and had a heart attack, you know?
Yeah.
And then you look at just like Arch Manning. Of course, we know Manning in high school broke many records. He is what he is, the Manning name, of course. But Bill, he's not even projected to starter yet, and he's already at 3 point. Even though his dad said you're not taking it until you get, you know, your starting day. But Bill, $3.7 million.
Yeah,
in college.
And you know, switching over a little bit, I guess the number one in all of sports is Bronny James.
Yes,
like 7.2 million.
Well, wasn't it that one? I don't know her name, Bill, but I was looking at it a couple of days ago. Isn't the one gymnast from LSU, that female one? She's at like 8 something as well. Something I think it was.
Yeah, she might have passed him because I just saw her do another commercial last night, and I was like, and you know, and interesting about her too. She just came out with a piece where she's fearing for her safety on campus. She can't even walk around campus now because she's a millionaire and she can't go to class. She's really having struggles. Well, you know, you got what you asked for. You got a pile of money, and now you're a celebrity, and there is stuff that comes with that.
That's insane. You're scared you're a millionaire based on your, you know, your NIL deal, but you're scared to go to school. Well, you know what? Welcome to the new age of paparazzi, I guess. But Bill, since you're down in Florida, those Candevere twins, they're up there as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and they actually left Miami. They left Miami to go into the advertising business or whatever they did. But, you know, pretty girls sell. That's not going to change. And,
very true. Very true. Yeah.
There's a lot of value. There's a lot of value to selling, whether you're selling toothpaste, you know, or brushes. Pretty girls can sell that stuff, and hey, more power to them.
I mean, I'm out there looking for the hottest new podcasting female out there so we can get an NI deal on our side here, Bill. That's what I'm looking for, you know. It does sell. Hell, you know.
That's right.
You don't have to know sports. Just come on here and just wave and, you know, just look up a couple times and we'll be set very good, you know.
Yeah, I think the thing that really really worries me, you know, it's, as I said, it's the wild, wild west, but when you get a guy like Spencer Rattler, who, you know, got a bunch of money at Oklahoma and he busted.
Right to South Carolina.
So now he's at South Carolina and he's doing fine. He's their starting quarterback and all that. Somebody paid him. And does he, you know, do they have contracts? Does he continue to get paid if he left Oklahoma?
Right.
Does he have to go get another deal at South Carolina? These kids are 18, 19, 20 years old.
Yes.
They can't, you know, they got to have agents. They got to have lawyers. They got to have people looking out for them. And that's not what college athletics is all about.
It's not. Joe Smith says, I'm glad these kids are getting something. I watched the Manziel documentary. Got some of the coaches paid. I mean, Bill, I know you're into sports memorabilia. You know, you have you're selling as well. Now I want to ask you, I did talk to Steve Laughlin, one of your great friends who does the show, the Commander Show for us here. Yep. He was telling me regarding Caleb Williams. Ever since he's won the Heisman, he has not signed one autograph as a show yet. Is that because the NIL deal? Like, why do I need to sign autographs? I have an NIL deal worth, you know, $2.6 million. Why do I need to sign a $50 autograph? You
absolutely.
Okay.
He probably just doesn't need the money, so he doesn't do it. You know, he's in the driver's seat. He doesn't have to do it. In Johnny Manziel's case, Joe made that. I watched that the other night too. You know, Johnny was making nothing.
Right.
They were selling tens of thousands of Johnny Manziel jerseys at Texas A&M. Everybody was making money but Johnny. And that's not right either. Johnny should have been able to get a piece of the pie, but
Sure.
he ended up having to go do it all illegally.
Mm-hmm.
And, at the time. So, I mean, I think there needs to be a balance somewhere along the line.
Sure.
And the other thing about the whole NIL that bothers me is student athlete is no longer a thing.
True. Very true.
These are athletes.
Mm-hmm.
These are athletes. Don't be fooled.
Yes.
If we can pick any one of these guys up there
Mm-hmm.
and say if he's got 3.7 million, is he real? Maybe he's a Manning, he might, but is he going to class?
Yeah, exactly. I just, hey, listen, you got a big exam tomorrow night. You got to need to study. Well, I go to my room and I just look at my checkbook and it says 2.6 million. What do I care? What do I care?
Exactly. So, I think that's where you lose a lot of focus, especially on the football and the basketball side. Maybe not so much in the lesser money sports or popular sports, whatever you want to call it,
right?
Televised sports, but I think we're losing sight of the athlete part of student athlete. We're just hiring athletes to come to our college.
Mm-hmm. Who can bring in the ticket sales? Number one. I mean, speaking of that, let's before we go into there, let's talk about Colorado. With the coaching change there, Travis Hunter, the number one recruit in the nation, automatically just flips over to Colorado. 1.7 NIL deal for him right away. And then we're seeing what Deion says. I'm always here for you about making that bag is what he calls it. For the players, but it's given a lot of people the wrong idea. But Bill, I did want to ask you, I play a lot of video games and the new NCAA game is coming out. Bill, for the first time, they're actually going to have players' names on the back of it that actually attend the school. Now, Bill, does everybody at least get a percentage since their name's on there? That's NIL deal as well, too, don't you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I agree. It's insane.
And I'll tell you another quick story because he's a friend of mine. I coached him at Lake Gibson High School. Matt Grothe. Matt was the quarterback for USF, University of South Florida. Put them on the map.
Yes.
He was in the same situation as Johnny Manziel. Billboards had his face on it. Jerseys were everywhere, and they not
even seen a penny.
No, they never even opened the upper deck at the stadium before he got there, and they sold the place out the whole time he was there, and they went to number 2 in the country.
Right.
Matt was in video games as number 8 for USF. Right. No name on the back. Never got a dime. He gets to his senior year. He's setting a bunch of records, blows out his knee about the third game. And that was basically the end of his career. He left there with a degree. He didn't leave there with any money. And so I definitely see two sides to this whole coin here.
Sure.
But I think there needs to be some sort of cap to the Wild West.
Mm-hmm. I agree. If you look at, we're old school, Bill. We watched, sports since day one. And I tell you, I feel for the players that's played back in the past. College to me, which I love so much because you're auditioning every week. You lose 1 week, you could be out of the NCAA championship with one loss. So you're given 150%. Now, I'm not saying that people don't do that, but nowadays, Bill, hey, you know what? Hey, what do I want more? I got my NIL deal. Do I really want to go out and play with this little hamstring injury? Do I want to do that? You see both sides of the coin here. And it does take, I'm glad the players are getting paid for it. I really am. But Bill, as a fan, it takes away a lot of the game to me as well.
Yeah. Well, and another example is the girl basketball player at LSU.
Angel Reese.
Mm-hmm. They asked her about going to the WNBA, and she said she makes more money at LSU.
Yes, yeah, and that's the crazy thing, Bill. Like the WNBA players can't even get a charter flight to games, and she can go out and buy her own plane if she wants to off her NIL deal. It's insane. It really is, And Bill, before we get into the other one, I'm a big St. Joe's Prep guy, of course, and they're looking good this year, of course, with Marvin Harrison. But you sent me a photo of Mr. McCord already getting a Mercedes AMG car. And wow, that's insane. A 20-year-old kid driving around in a $100,000 Mercedes on campus.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about McCord, and I'm sure at some point we'll get to talking about Ohio State and St. Joe Prep. McCord's a prep guy. He has not earned that starting job yet.
No,
That
Devin
job,
Brown. I think it's Devin Brown's.
well, it sounds like it's up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Day said in the last day or so that
Mm-hmm.
he's disappointed in both of them, that they're both
Ooh,
playing okay. Nobody has taken the job. So, are
wow.
you going to take the drop back pocket passer in McCord? Are you going to
Mm-hmm.
go with the more athletic Brown? So, with that said, you're driving around in $100,000 car or whatever that thing is, and you might be holding the clipboard.
Yeah, I can just see that advertisement. Hey, shop at Bill Furman's Mercedes dealership here, home of Kyle McCord. Well, doesn't he sit the bench? Doesn't he? Does he play? But all he cares, Bill, is he's driving $100,000 car to and from practice. That's all
That's
he
right.
cares. Hey,
Yep.
why not? Hey, why
Crazy.
not? It's insane with some of these deals, Bill. I tell you, like, oh man, it's not what it used to be. Just imagine, these old school players, what they could have made back in the day. It would be a
Yep.
fractions of the dime of what we make now, but good Lord. Um, we'll get into this here. Bill, Mike Laurel, actually, how do you think the Big Ten will do here, real quick? Just give me an answer on that, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Actually, Bill, you want to go into that right now? How the conference realignment? Let's go into that.
Well, conference realignment is absolutely chaos too.
Oh.
I don't know how they're going to work it out.
Mm-hmm.
USC and UCLA will be coming to the Big Ten for next football season.
Mm-hmm.
Now it looks like they may add a couple more, Oregon and Washington.
Yes.
The Southeast Conference is going to add some more teams. A couple are being hung out. They're talking about Stanford playing in the ACC, maybe.
I did see that
with Cal. And here's my beef about this. I understand for the Big Ten getting USC and UCLA because it was the LA market.
Right.
It guaranteed them basically the New York, Washington, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Chicago,
now Los Angeles,
and Los Angeles markets. I get that. Now you're adding these other teams. Here's what I don't get. Let's take football out of the picture. Who's flying charter flights all over the place and doing whatever. How does the baseball team or the tennis team or the swimming team go to Washington and Oregon on regular flights like us? How do they go to play? How do they go to school? How do they get back? And then turn around and go back for another trip to USC and UCLA in Los Angeles for another 4 or 5 days, and then come back home and play home against Michigan. I think they went for the money grab because football and basketball are such money grabs, but these other sports, they didn't take into account the kids.
That's very true. I was reading an article. I'm not sure where I read it exactly to your point, where I think it was they were talking about Stanford actually going to go to the ACC. I thought they would go independent. This way they could do a little bit more different with the schedule. But I think it was Stanford where they said something like their girls volleyball team plays back to back twice a week, in their own conference. Well, if they join a ACC team, well, now you're going to the East Coast every week, back to back. What happens to the schooling? What happens to the flights? And the one person said it's going to be like the WNBA because we are going to be the stepchilds of college football. Where do we get left out? Because college football makes the money. Well, we're going to be, the stepchild here. Where do we fall into the category based on college football?
Right. And the only way you fix that is you say, okay, you go over and you play North Carolina State and North Carolina. Then you'll go play Duke and Virginia. But at some point you got to go home. How long are you going to stay out to play all these teams over on the East Coast when you're out in stinking Oregon?
Right. Kim Cannon brings up the thing. Stanford has approached the Big Ten. Reports on Columbus Sports Radio indicate that the Cardinal are trying to get creative in order of the Big Ten. I don't see them joining the Big Ten. What do you think, Bill?
Well, it kind of makes sense if they can make it work. Because everybody else in the pack is now in the Big Ten. So, whether they could, and maybe that does make sense from the division standpoint. Maybe you go Iowa, Nebraska, and some out there and make in the West and make them one side.
Sure.
And then split it down the middle and say Ohio State and Penn State and Rutgers and Maryland and that side be a division.
Yeah.
Maybe you could do something like that.
Now, speaking of, I like how you said that, but Bill, there's got to be an odd man out. To me, this is just me speaking. Rutgers and Maryland are the first two out for me.
Well, they're not going to throw him out.
Right.
And they brought
right.
him in. They
Yeah.
brought him in. They're not going to throw him out. And again, that was a money grab too. That was the DC and New York television markets.
Right. Exactly.
You know, that's why they brought them in. Maryland at least was respectable in basketball.
Yes.
At the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're good in some other sports. Rutgers is really not a very good sports school.
Well, they brought him in for an easy win, you know, based on the other 11 teams at that point.
Well, and the money grab.
True.
So, but I don't see them. I don't see them throwing anybody out. They still sell out their stadiums and they do what they're supposed to do. They just don't win games.
So basically, the Big Ten is the Big Ten. They still call it the Big 10, Big 12. That's going to become a 4-team addition. So we're looking at Big 16 now. So we might go East and West pretty much, correct?
Well, there's been talk about having one big conference.
Okay.
Same with the Southeast Conference. They've talked about having one big conference, and I don't have any idea how that works.
I don't either. That's just, I mean, the BCS is what it is now. That's just going to add more drama. You know, I did hear the ACC saying something, if I'm wrong, where they said something where it's going to be, of course, you play who you play based on your every year expectations, who you play, home and away, whatever. But they did say the top 2 teams, regardless of what, no division, you go to the conference final to play in the conference championship. But 18 teams, there's going to be ties. How do you do that? Do you just go to a strength of schedule, which is kind of where we're at with the BCS here? That's going to add more drama and chaos.
Yeah, more. I'll go with more chaos.
Exactly.
You know, and I think the thing that's going to be even more, well, it's a little bit confusing now, but usually things level themselves out. I mean, Ohio State and Michigan,
right,
and Penn State as the third team are the class of the Big Ten.
Yes,
they're all on the same side.
You
know, the Iowa and Nebraska and those teams are down. They haven't always been down. They've always been pretty good. But now all of a sudden, one side is weak, one side is strong. And you're sending good teams home and you're bringing a lesser team to the championship, Wisconsin.
Right.
Who is always pretty tough too, but they're not at the level of Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State right now.
Very true. Yeah, when Nebraska came over, I was kind of hyped up about that, you know, going back to the Cornhusker days of Scott Frost. You know, those days, that's what I wanted to see. Well, that's what I thought I was getting. But Nebraska has been, you know, not Nebraska football, but who knows?
Well, we'll see. We'll see what Matt Rule can do with them. Now,
exactly.
with that said, now you're bringing UCLA and USC in. Chip Kelly's getting UCLA kind of fixed up. USC is strong. So now you start bringing them in, and they start playing home and homes with Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State. You got big time football going on. But again, how do you come out of that in the end with the champion to represent you in the Final Four?
Exactly. Somehow there's going to be a tie based on not even strength of schedule. It's going to be based on who you play that year, because it's going to be a rotation of who you're playing that year. So it's going to be chaos, Bill. That's the word we said there. But I think it's great for the West Coast team to join the Big Ten, because Lincoln Riley and Chip Kelly own that West Coast recruiting. All they got to say is, hey, listen, we're recruiting from the West Coast here. And let's remember, Lincoln Riley still has ties to that Texas area as well. You know, this quarterback university that he has in Oklahoma, he has that on lockdown. So I think it's going to be the best division in football when it does happen in 2024 next year.
Yeah. Oh, I do too. I'm excited for it. I want to see it, you know, and
yes,
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. For sure.
I think so too. I definitely think so too. But Bill, let's talk about the transfer portal real quick. I mean, Bill, we talked about this, Bill. It was like you needed your own podcast every day to find out who the hell was going here. Where it wasn't not even players, Bill, it was coaches.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole quarterback thing is just amazing in its own self. You know, as you mentioned, the Notre Dame kid's at Alabama. The Virginia kid is at North Carolina State. They're darn near arch rivals, and all of a sudden they switch schools to the arch rival. Yeah. And that happened in a bunch of cases. There's quarterbacks everywhere switching teams.
It's insane. I can't believe it, Bill. Like it's like, you know, having another podcast all to yourself where, well, breaking news, this one just transferred, you know, this one here. And I did see something somebody put on Twitter. It was like a little meme or whatever. You know, the guy sitting there, the athletic director, and the head coach is just sitting there, and all he's doing is just looking at the transfer book 1201. Do you want this guy? No, something else will hop up. Next guy hops on. Give him a call, and he's calling him. Do you want to come? He's like, sure. All right, the next flight. That's the way it seems, Bill, nowadays.
Right. Well, and to take that one step further, oh, by the way, we have a bag of money for you.
Yes.
Here's your NIL deal. We can do you. And
yes.
Absolutely, I'm in.
That is insane. I mean, look at Travis Hunter. I mean, Jackson State, he wouldn't have got that big money at Jackson State, the NIL deal, which he did. 2.7, 1.7, 2.7, whatever, 1.7, I think it was. But just for going there, that was mentioned from Coach Prime, Dion, hey, Travis, look, NIL deal. This is what they can offer, at least 1.5 million. Come on down. Look, you're set for your rest of your life. You ain't going to get that at Jackson University. Come on down. But I'm just happy we got Sam Hartman, Bill. That's all I can say in the transfer portal.
Well, but you whether it was the chicken or the egg, you lost your quarterback to Alabama.
Yeah.
Did you lose him because you brought one in, or did you bring one in because you lost him? I don't know, but either way, it's a chess game on who's going to play quarterback. And some of these kids are good, maybe they're fifth-year seniors, or a lot of guys just don't have the patience to wait their turn. They get beat out, like we were talking about in that Ohio State situation. If one of those guys doesn't start, they're liable to say, "Hey, I'm out. Take my Mercedes. I'm out."
Well, let's go back to Joe Burrows. Let's go back to Brock Ewers. What's his name? Brock
Ewers.
Let's talk about them too. I mean, 5-star recruits coming in. I didn't pan out in preseason or camp. I didn't look good. Well, you know what? I'm not starting. I'm going to go elsewhere and play. Why not? Now, but Bill, the door's always open. If you don't succeed here, try again. That's what we were always told, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And coaches are sitting there on the other end with open arms for you to come in and play or give you an opportunity to play. And I think everybody kind of looks at Joe Burrow and says, I want to be that guy, because obviously it worked out really well for Joe.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I was talking to this guy yesterday. He was like, "Oh, at LSU, man, he must have been a great starter at LSU." I was like, "He didn't come from LSU. If you know, he was at Ohio State, and he got beat out for his job. Honestly, Yep. But Bill, I know before we get into the next subject here, we'll go into the rankings. But I know we talked about the last thing with the transfer, Bill. Does this give certain players it does give an advantage, but I feel sorry for the players who get on the team, work their ass off, Bill, try to earn a spot, and all these transfers are out there like, okay, well, this guy's working his butt off on the practice field, but you know what? The transfer portal I just looked at, we have a guy that's better than him. Let's bring in him, and then we'll you know what? We don't even have to worry about him. He don't even have to dress anymore. I mean, that takes away a lot from the dedication of, I want to go back. I know Rudy's, not even true, but go back to like a Rudy day, that you've seen that kid work his butt off, Bill.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's business. It's a business.
It is definitely.
If I could bring in the Georgia tight end and play him at Notre Dame because he's better than the other kid, they're going to do it. Mm-hmm. If it gives them a better chance to win and they can get them, they're going to do it. It's all about winning games. It's all about business.
Very true. Very true.
So sorry, son. You can still get your education here at Notre Dame, but you're going to be a backup in your fifth year. Maybe.
Well, here's a great one here. I mean, we know about Archie Manning. We know about Quinn Ewers is his name. I called him Brock for some reason. I have no idea why. But Ewers will be backing up Manning by the end of the year. Well, Manning's a true freshman who will be getting the starting nod. So knowing him, he will at least spend 3 years in college with the Manning family. We know that based on his pedigree, not going to the NFL right away. But is the next one we see Ewers next year transferring in the portal?
Well, I think my man Kidd is loading the Manning wagon a little early.
I agree. I wanted you to say that, Bill.
Yeah, let's see how this plays out. Ewers has played pretty good.
Yes,
and the whole Texas thing, and we'll probably get to that a little bit later. But they're getting a lot of hype, and I don't know if Steve Sarkisian really has what it takes to get all the hype. He got Manning, and that was a coup, getting him a lot of publicity, and but we'll see. We'll see if how that plays out.
I agree. I'm not sold on the Sarkisian thing. I think he's a good OC, but I don't think he's a great head coach in many ways. That standpoint, he's had solid teams. I mean, they can rebuild. I think his big ticket was just like you said, the Manning issue. He got Manning. Let's build around him. Well, you need to protect him, number one. And I don't know even though he's going to start this year. I think I would go with Ewers. He's 6'5", great arm, great talent, great runner, and the injuries held him back last year. So that's going to be a QB battle for us to see.
And Texas had bags of money they were giving out too. They're way up on the NIL list as far as schools that have money to throw away. So
yes, the boosters are out there in full.
I have a question for you because I definitely have a strong opinion on this. You have all the money in the world. Are you giving millions of dollars to Notre Dame to bring in football players with your money?
Bill, I've said this for many years. Two things: lower the standards at Notre Dame to get the best players, and number two, if I have all the money in the world, you're damn right I'm bringing in some players.
Are you? I'm not. They're not getting my money.
No?
No.
That's because you're a Penn State guy, Bill.
No, I'm not talking about it. I'm talking about at Penn State. If I had all the money, why would, if I could spend my money any way I want, why would I give Penn State $5 million or some amount of money to bring in football players that I don't know so I can sit in a luxury box and watch them play with my money? Maybe I'm old and I worked too hard for my money all these years that I'm not in it.
I have to admit, I looked at it the wrong way. I looked at it as a fan point, which I shouldn't have done. Number one, I should have put that aside. But looking at it as just a millionaire and saying, wow, I worked my tail off for this money I have here. I'm not giving, these kids that kind of money just, for that. I agree with you at that point, but I don't know. These companies out there with this endorsement deals, Bill, I don't know what they're thinking. Like they must be, Bill Gates or something out there, or, they're whatever they are. I don't know where they get this money, but looking at it from what you said, you're right. I'm not going to give them anything.
Maybe I give them jobs in my company, let them earn their money. I might do that, but just to hand them $25,000-$50,000 a person or something, I just can't see it.
Or you can go the cheaper route. Just give your non-name quarterback, starting quarterback, a $100,000 Mercedes. I mean, whatever you want to do. I mean,
yeah. Well, that's Alex Van Pelt had one of those last year, the year before too, down in Miami. One of the car dealerships had him all souped up before he ever played as well.
I tell you what, Bill, it makes me want to. I mean, I can't have any kids anymore. I tell you what, if I had another kid, I would groom him to play football and eat meat and potatoes every damn day for this NIL deal. That's all I can tell him.
I teach him to play golf.
Golf. Hey, there you go. Less punishment. Just play golf. Enjoy it. Great weather. Right. Why not? Why not?
That's right.
Oh man. But let's get into some preseason rankings here. Of course, I really should have done top 10. We don't have to hit every team, of course, here, Bill. But I had to go number 15 because that's where I see my Irish fall. Which we did talk about it here, which we'll start there. Bill, there's one guy that I don't know. You are the encyclopedia of college football. Bill, where does Gerald Parker, this new OC, what do you know about this guy?
I don't know a lot about him other than he is coming supposedly with a very high reputation.
Yes.
Again, it's a plug-and-play quarterback situation for him. How good is that going to be? They also have a September date with the Buckeyes.
Very true.
Is a big game. And as I look at all these rankings, and mine that I have is a little bit different than this, but it's basically the same. You have Ohio State has got to play Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Ohio State's going to play Michigan, and Ohio State and Michigan are going to play Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
Opening weekend, LSU is playing Florida State.
Yes.
All these teams are going to play each other. I don't know how they're all going to end up in here unless they're all going to have a handful of losses or Georgia's sitting there undefeated like we talked about early on.
Exactly.
But Tennessee, is up there. They got to play Alabama. They have to play Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
They can't all stay here.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think it's so easy to come up with the preseason ranking, throw that up there. By week 3, you can be totally screwed. Based on your scheduling, who you're playing here. Well, I don't want to say, well, there is teams now that don't run that cupcake schedule, just like LSU's playing, right away. They're coming right out of the gates playing, them. But the preseason is so much easier to jurisdict where you're standing at based on last year. Georgia's number 1, lost the quarterback, but you got to dethrone the champs before you take them off the pedestal, Bill.
Yeah. Oh, I have no problem with Georgia being number one. I don't really have a problem with Ohio State being number two.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan quarterback, they're saying he is a first round draft pick. That
They're
he's
saying,
the guy.
they're saying JJ McCarthy. Is that
Yep.
high?
Yep.
Wow, wow.
Lot of good things about him. We'll
Mm-hmm.
see. With
Right,
Michigan and Harbaugh, it's always a wait and see.
very true.
Alabama doesn't have a quarterback. Penn State's loaded.
They are.
Whether whether
I'm waiting to see Drew Aller play. I really want to see this guy play, and I've been waiting. Even as a Notre Dame fan, he just
Yep.
draws that must see TV to me.
Yeah, and again, that's a new quarterback though, and
Mhm.
we'll see. Tennessee new quarterback. LSU's got a
They do. They have a
returning
great-
quarterback.
They do. Oh goodness. Gosh, what was his name? I
got it
forgot.
on the tip of my
Yeah,
tongue, too.
I actually had it. What did I have it at? I had it written down. Oh, JD McDaniels from Arizona State. That's right.
Yep.
Mhm.
So I think all these things are wide open. Of course, USC sitting there at 10. They've got Caleb Williams, which means they're probably going to be pretty good.
Mhm.
And who's it? Florida. Florida goes to Utah real early in the season too,
Wow.
which that one might be interesting as well. So
Mhm.
a lot of good games.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm kind of curious to see what the week one holds for the big teams. I mean, just like you said with USC, they're stacked. Of course, runs the basic Pac-10, Pac-12 or whatever it was. But Utah beat them twice last year, knocked them out of the BCS. There twice. Their only losses. Utah. They play each other this year. One of those are the odd man out right away. That's
Yep.
gone. But
Yep.
Bill, just real quick, we won't go to all teams, but Notre Dame, Bill. Well, you mentioned it earlier. Why did Tommy Rees go to Alabama? What did you see with that? Because I watch all Notre Dame games, and there was that fine line between Marcus Freeman and Tommy Rees. They didn't see eye to eye, Bill, and it showed on national TV one time where
Ye-
he screamed at every word under the sun to his quarterback, lit him up big time. But then after that, the press conference said, Marcus Freeman said, "I don't accept that. He's an
Yeah.
offensive coordinator. I do not accept that ever." There is a fine line to coaching and ridiculing a player. Maybe that had something to do with it, Bill.
I think it absolutely had something to
Mhm.
do with it. I don't know that he was fired.
Mhm.
He might have been told, go try to find yourself something else.
Well, he found one hell of a job.
Yeah. I mean, he ended up in a pretty great place.
Right.
I'm sure when Nick said, come on, it was an easy decision. But yeah, I'm with you. There was some problems there. And because generally the Notre Dame defense was pretty good last year,
Mhm.
pretty decent.
Mhm.
They struggled a bit on offense, and that fell on Tommy Rees.
Yeah, and I watch all the games, Bill. I'm going to be doing a Notre Dame pregame and postgame this year on Saturdays. But I did notice that, and I was talking to my friend of mine. And I was like, they used Michael Mayer 38% of the offense last year. He was a productive 38% of that entire offense. Where I call Notre Dame O-line university nowadays.
Right.
You always think how their O-line's coming out, which they have Joe Alt this year, All-American right away. But Tommy Rees didn't put players in categories. Austin Estime, great running back, barely used last year, and they wanted to use Tyler Buckner. Well, he goes to Alabama with Tommy Rees, and he was a running quarterback, which Notre Dame needs to stand behind that offensive line, what they had, Bill. And that's why I think they brought this guy, Jared Parker, in. I didn't even know, Bill, he was a wide receiver coach at Penn State.
Yep.
I didn't even know that until I looked that up.
Yeah. Well, and I think if you look back over the last handful of years, I think Tommy Rees's quarterbacks didn't ever seem to me like they got a lot better.
Very true. Very true.
They didn't have that knockout quarterback since the Ian Book was good, was pretty good, but they just didn't have that guy. I didn't think, and I'm not sure they got better.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. I mean, they've never had the 5-star recruit come in at quarterback, going back to 88 when they had Tony Rice, who couldn't throw a football 5 feet, but could run one hell of an option, but that goes to me with an offensive coordinator, Bill. If I'm your quarterback, I can't throw the ball. Bill, you're not going to make me throw the ball.
Right.
You're going to, hey, look, you got speed. Let's run a bone here. Let's run the wishbone out there, or, run a wing T, whatever we want to run to win. To me, Tommy Rees never did that, Bill. He never utilized what the quarterback's capability was. Drew Pine could throw the ball, never gave him really a chance. They wanted him to be Tyler Buckner, which it didn't pan out, Bill.
Agree 100%. And I think that's all part of the unraveling of Tommy Rees right there.
Yep. And I think, Jared Parker, it's a win-win situation when you got Sam Hartman come in. You got one of the prize recruits coming in this year at quarterback. He's only going to stay 1 year left of eligibility. I believe he has 1 year left. So,
right.
You know what? Hey, you know what? Go out there, show us what you have. Audition Jared Parker. You got the best quarterback, top 5 quarterback in college football. Go out. Let's see what you got. Go do it.
Yeah,
and
Hartman's a good player.
I love him. I love
him. That's a good get for Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm. I love him. I had him in probably in preseason. I think I had him number 3 in my dark horse Heisman until he got hurt a couple games. But yeah. I love the kid. I think he's going to bring Notre Dame back. But they have a lot of pieces, Bill. A lot of pieces to compete with what's out there in college football right now. They
Absolutely. Really I'm with you. And that matchup with the Buckeyes, I believe that's week 4 or 5.
Week 4, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that is in Notre Dame this year.
Yes, so, thank God at the horse. I mean, it was a great game last year at the Horseshoe. We competed, but
ran out of gas.
Ran out of gas, exactly. I mean, the recruits that you bring in didn't have enough gas in the gas tank to compete with Ohio State.
Absolutely,
they didn't. Bill, I'll let you pick a team going down from after Notre Dame. I'll let you pick a team. We don't have to go to every one here. What would you like to talk about?
Let's see. Let's talk about those Michigan Wolverines, because I don't really like them very much.
I know you don't, Bill. There's that little. I seen how you said that too.
Yeah. Well, I told you last year, I actually thought they were kind of a dark horse once they got to the Final Four. I thought that offensive line was as good as they've had in a long, long time.
Very true.
They showed that in the first game and then just got their doors blown off in the second game. And I'm not convinced in Harbaugh. But if he finally has developed a quarterback that he was supposed to be the quarterback guru, kind of falls into the same discussion as Tommy Rees. They never seemed like they were getting any better. Well, I think if Michigan can keep it together, I think they got the talent. We'll see what happens. They have to come to Happy Valley, play Penn State. See how that goes. Of course, they've got to beat Ohio State, and that's going to be a punch.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really a big Michigan fan. I know what they are. I mean, last year, Bill, just like you said with the offensive line. Now, I did look at it. This year, they have 5 starters coming back in the offensive line, which is great for them. Plus, you're telling me J.J. McCarthy. I knew he was good, but I didn't even know he was projected that high coming out next year.
Yeah.
But the main person coming back to me is Blake Corum.
Yeah. Yeah, he was
Heisman worthy. He was Heisman worthy last year until the injury, Bill.
Absolutely. And again, that goes back to that offensive line. Corum's a good running back. That offensive line was really, really good until they weren't. And,
exactly. They were exposed at the game, Bill.
Yeah, they absolutely got punched in the mouth.
And to me, that was a track meet, Bill. I don't think I've ever seen a Michigan playing a track meet, and that was a track meet to me.
Yeah. They could do nothing.
Nothing at all. Nothing.
But yeah, he's a heck of a running back, and he could be in the hunt for Heisman. Speaking of the Heisman, can I jump off for just a second?
Hey, let's go.
I saw this one magazine that I was looking through, got some information on. Top 10 players in the country, 9 are quarterbacks, and the 10th one is Marvin Harrison. What do you make of that? Is it a Heisman or is it a quarterback award?
Can we just change it? What is the quarterback award? What was that? The Maxwell?
Davey O'Brien.
Davey O'Brien, yeah. Why don't we just get away from the Heisman here and just go to that right there? Let's just call it what it is. I don't get it, Bill. I don't get it. I mean, I understand the quarterback is the field general, Bill, but just like in the NFL, Bill, the running backs are getting overlooked with the price tag here. They run it through walls every play. I don't get it, Bill. I don't get it.
No.
And isn't Marvin Harrison like 2 or 3 in the Heisman candidate next year? Is what they're saying this year so far?
Well, the one I saw that I have actually has him as 10.
Wow.
But I'm telling you what, there's no doubt that he could win the Heisman if they have somebody throwing the ball. If you're going to say who's the best player in the country, to me, he was the best receiver in the draft that wasn't in the draft.
Yeah.
He would have gone higher than his teammate did.
And Jigba. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he would. To me, he was a high first-round pick this year.
I don't know the exact stat, Ben, but we were talking about it last year, and I think he had he had no drop balls through week 7 that were catchable balls. He had no dropped balls.
Yeah.
This guy, I mean, I watched him play since 9th grade all the way up until his junior year because I moved out here his senior year. And I tell you, Bill, something about that kid. The work ethic from his dad, of course, that the pedigree there. But Bill, Ohio State is loaded on offensive weapons this year. I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
Bill,
They
they're
got
loaded.
to get their quarterback situation straight.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
Bill,
here, I'll give you a quick rundown real fast.
oh, I got to hear this one.
We don't have to talk about all these, but I'll just run
No.
it down.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, Caleb Williams.
Okay, great.
Two, Michael Penix from Washington.
Washington, yes.
Number 3, Jordan Travis of Florida State, quarterback.
Oh, I don't know where I don't put him in there, Bill.
Me neither. He did, let's see, 1,784 rushing yards, 24 touchdowns.
Unless he's going to throw to Johnny Wilson every damn play, the 6'6"
Right.
wide receiver. Why not,
Right. Here's one that really surprised me. Number 4, Bo Nix. Bo Nix must be on like his 18th year of eligibility.
Yeah, 5th year of eligibility here. I don't see that one. I mean, Bo Nix. Oh, good. No,
how about number 5, Sam Hartman from Notre Dame?
He could be a dark horse. He really could. Under the if Parker puts it in a position, Bill, I think he could be a dark horse. Yes.
There you go. Number 6, Drake May, North Carolina.
I believe in the hype with May. I really like him from North Carolina. I believe I can drink the Kool-Aid with that one, but I don't.
That's what chased Hartman away.
Exactly.
Number 7, Jaden Daniels, LSU.
I'm not
Arizona State.
I don't see Brian Kelly putting a quarterback in that position.
No. Number 8, J.J. McCarthy, Michigan.
What I'm hearing from what you said earlier, with this offense, I mean, I don't think he's going to get touched. I think he's going to command the offense. 5 starting offensive linemen, All-American running back. Why not? He could just manage the game and go 13-0 and win in the championship. Could put him right there, Bill.
There you go. Number 9, Quinn Ewers, Texas.
Well, let's get through the training camp battle first with that one.
Right. And then number 10, Marvin Harrison.
I have him top 5, Bill. And that's not because I'm a prep guy. I have him top 5 for what he does on the football field. I mean, he can make any quarterback look good. He can make a quarterback look good. McCord, a Devin Brown. He can make them look good.
Right. I agree with you. I think the biggest thing for Marvin Harrison this year is going to be these coordinators are not going to let him run free. They're going to double him, box him, triple him, whatever they got to do. Make these young quarterbacks figure out a way to throw him the ball or throw it to somebody else.
Exactly.
So his numbers and his production might actually go down, but only because he's taking resources from the defense to do it.
I agree. I think the blueprint was set last year. Like you can't, run a single high on Harrison. You have to put a double team on him no matter what, or chip him off the line. Whatever you have to do it. But you're going to make either McCord or Devin Brown beat you, of course, by reading the progression tree, taking away what the defense gives you. But Bill, you have Aguba, I can't even say his last name, another 5-star recruit that's been there for 2 years, and then you got Fleming as well. Right. To me, they have 3 top 10 receivers in the NCAA on one team again. Yeah. I mean, to me, it's pick your poison, but it's all going to come down to Marvin Harrison saying, hey, McCord or Devin Brown, I want to be throwing the ball. I'll get open, whatever, but it's going to come down to that quarterback play to make Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, and I think they can coach him up too. Maybe you don't push him down the field. Maybe you run him in drag routes. You run him somewhere you can get him the ball and let him run after catch. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of things they could do to get your playmaker the ball in his hands, and that'll be the challenge for Ryan Day and his offense as well, I think. True. And maybe, in that type of environment, it takes some of the pressure off the quarterback. Mm-hmm. Get the ball out. Get it to your guy and let your guy do his thing.
Very true. Very true. I think Ohio State demands number 2. I mean, they're fully loaded every year. We know that. But that Big Ten is a gauntlet, Bill. We know that. I mean, speaking of the Big Ten, let's go to the team that I know that you're all about, Penn State Nittany Lions here.
Yeah,
Penn 5.
State. Yeah, Penn State. We'll see how the quarterback situation works out there. Mm-hmm. Looks like it's going to be pretty good. 2 fantastic 1,000-yard backs. Probably for the first time in a long time, the offensive line matches the running back talent.
True.
They're good on the offensive line for the first time in a long time. They're solid on defense, and they're young everywhere. So I think they have a chance to be really good. I think they have a chance to beat Michigan, mm-hmm. and at home especially. Whether they can win at the Horseshoe, that might be a little bit more of a challenge, but I think they got the talent to do it this time around.
I think so too. We always talk about Franklin winning the big game. That's still on the my shoulder there thinking about that. But with this team, Bill, I think Drew Aller is going to put a spark on them. That's something we haven't seen in a while, and they're fast. They're ferocious. I think they do make the BCS this year. I'll say it early. I think they are one of the top four teams in if they can get through the Big Ten gauntlet. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, and I think, the Franklin winning the big game, I get it, because they got spanked a few times.
Hmm.
But I think what he didn't have is when he would lose to Michigan or Ohio State, because he got kicked in the teeth.
Hmm.
His offensive line and defensive line, mainly offense, was just not good enough.
True.
And against those teams, they were good enough against everybody else, good enough to end up 9-3 or 10-2.
Hmm.
But they weren't good enough to beat Ohio State and Michigan. I think this year, for the first time, as I was saying, in a long time, I think they've got the talent. They're good enough to get in the trenches and win down there where they haven't been in the past.
Now, Bill, I know. I think you have. I don't know if you have the schedule up. Do they play Ohio State at home at the Shoe, or are they
At Ohio State?
Are they okay? So okay, they're at the Horseshoe. Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
I do happen to have that.
I knew you would, Bill. I knew you would.
Here, I have a market. That's just for this conversation. How about
There you go.
West Virginia at home?
Okay, 1-0. Oh, are we going straight to
national TV?
Okay, 1-0.
Delaware, the Blue Hens.
Oh, I don't know. Look out for those Blue Hens, Bill. They might
That
put
could
up
be a tough one. At Illinois,
That's a win.
Iowa at home.
Iowa at home. If it was away, I think it would be a game. Iowa always plays tough at home, but since you're in Happy Valley, I'll give it to Penn State.
Yep. At Northwestern, who knows what's going on out there.
I don't know what's going on out there. They're still dealing with the hazing situation.
Massachusetts Minutemen.
Do they still have a team, Bill?
Apparently.
Last time I heard them, Marcus Camby was, still relevant, wasn't he?
Right. Yeah, that's at home. Then they go to Ohio State, and Indiana at home, at Maryland, Michigan at home, Rutgers at home, and at Michigan State to close it out.
Bill, all I can say is there's 2 games on there, but you have them. Oh, Bill, there's 2 games. That's it. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, it's that same 9-3, 10-2 look. You gotta beat the 2, and you can't get knocked off by Iowa or at Illinois or some game you shouldn't lose. You got to take care of your bit, or at Michigan State, which sometimes has been a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, so, we always say those trap games. There is a couple trap games out there when you overlook a team. Hell, that Minutemen team. You never. I shouldn't even go there, Bill. I'm not going to go that far.
Maybe if they're playing basketball,
exactly. If they bring Marcus Camby back, might as well may have a chance. But I
think they got a chance to be really good.
I do too. I do too. I mean, if they split, with Ohio State and a Michigan, you still are not knocked out of that Big Ten. You're really still not knocked out of that. Even the BCS, Bill. We know that the big. I mean, we look at SEC last year. Alabama, Georgia, they can lose a game and still be in there with the Alabama situation last year. They're knocking on the door again. The Big Ten is at that preliminary door right now where you lose a game early. And I always say lose early if you're going to lose, Bill. Don't lose late. You're automatically knocked out. You lose one of those games. If Ohio State and Michigan play, they split. Well, there's a 3-way split here, basically, if you look at it. Then you go do you look at style points? What do you see? The eye test? But the big thing is you're playing in a Big Ten powerhouse factory now.
That's right. And like say, whatever happens, you can look down the road and say Ohio State, Michigan have to play each other, and who knows what's going to happen there. So
very true. Very true.
Yeah. Just have to take care of their business, and
that's it.
Don't slip, and don't be happy at 10-2. I'm tired of seeing 10-2, 9-3.
Yeah, Bill, I still want to go an undefeated season, which you very rarely see anymore, except unless you're Georgia. Of course, they run the tables, and especially with this cupcake schedule this year, Bill. But real quick, before we get out of here, Bill, there's a couple comments. Eileen, thanks for checking in. Eileen, thank you. Kid Candace says Ohio State wide receiver room is the best in the country. I agree with that every year. Bill, is it safe to say that Ohio State's becoming wide receiver university?
Oh, I would think.
I would think,
and then they're going to put the cherry on. They're going to put the cherry on top this year.
Oh goodness, yeah, definitely. Danny on Wills, he does the Giants show and also our video game show as well. Ohio State still has good wide receivers, but I have to agree they are not a quarterback factory, Bill.
No.
But can Justin Fields turn that stereotype? I mean, Can
Well,
he?
well, I think Justin Fields is a perfect example. I think he gets to the league
Hmm.
and he's struggling, but then the league, because those guys are great coaches, they look around and they
Hmm.
say, "Look what Jalen Hurts is doing."
Yeah.
So let's modify this offense because Justin Fields can do what Jalen Hurts can do.
Hmm.
Let's change things around a little bit. Let's give this kid a chance to be successful. And
Very
now,
true.
guess what? He's being successful, but it looked like it almost was like he's going to get run out.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
all of a sudden he can play because they've made it for him to be successful.
And Bill, I know you're a diehard Eagles fan, and you look at Jalen Hurts. A lot of people doubted his arm. Well, look what he did last year. He worked on that, throwing dimes. Great off the ball thrower, on the ball thrower, great runner as well. We know what Justin Fields can do.
Yep.
Just imagine if he takes that in his mindset. Wow, they talked about Jalen Hurts not throwing the ball. They talked about me not throwing the ball. Let me work on that and let me show you what I can do. I can turn
That's
that
right.
stereotype away. I give him all the credit. I love Justin Fields, what he does on the field. I think he's going to be great, but I don't know. But Bill, before we get out of here, Bill, we're going to be on here. I know you're going on vacation in September. Enjoy your trip. You're going to Italy, correct?
Yes.
Wow, that's beautiful over
12,
there.
12 days.
12 days. Bill, are you going to be watching football, or will they have it over there for you?
Well, somehow,
Somehow, I know you will find a way, Bill.
somehow.
You will find a.
Yeah, I'm
You will
not
find a
sure
way.
how or what time of the day that will be, but somehow,
Exactly.
yes,
Exactly. Yeah, I can see Bill at 3 o'clock in the morning watching a 10 o'clock game. I can
yeah,
see that.
pretty good possibility.
Definitely. But Bill, before we get out, I know you're going to be on with me every week except for those 2 weeks. Bill, where can they find you? Of course.
Philly Press Box Radio is Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, 7 to 8. We just finished up right before we came on here on the Edge of Philly Sports Network. Check us out. It's all pretty much Philly sports if you're a Philly guy, but if you're one of those opposing team guys, come on and we'll probably bash your team somehow.
Yeah, I still have the welt marks on my back from that couple times I checked in there, Bill. So yeah, that is very true. But
Uh,
I tell you, Bill, I love your show. I watched it tonight. Tell Chet he did an excellent job with the De Niro films as well.
Chet always throws a little, we call it a random Chet segment where he'll do something a little bit off the wall, and he likes doing. He's a music buff and he's a beer buff, so there's always
Beer,
something.
yes.
Yeah, there's always something that's going to come up, and I never know what's coming. He'll just tell me, "Hey, I have a random Chet this week, and it's going to be 3 minutes." Okay,
Gotcha.
so
I
I'm
never
as surprised as the next guy.
with Chet. I never knew there was so many National Beer Days in my life on one calendar.
Right? Ain't that the truth?
It is. Well, Bill, let's get out of here. We'll be back next week. And next week, Bill, what can we talk about next week, real quick, for the guys out there?
Well, we'll be. You know what we have coming up, and I know you know this as a St. Joe Prep guy, and me living down here in Lakeland, Florida.
Yes, Bill.
Prep is coming to Lakeland to play the defending Florida State champion Lakeland Dreadnoughts. Unfortunately, it is the day after I leave for Italy, so I won't be able to go. But we could do. We could start working on a little preview of that game.
We definitely can. I mean, of course, I'm St. Joe's Prep. You're all about the Florida. And you know what? It's not only Lakeland, Bill. It's IMG this year, too.
Yeah.
It's, oh, now don't talk about cupcake schedule when you talk about the Prep.
No, they're. We'll see what they got. I don't know if that. I haven't seen if that game is on like an ESPN game.
It is. It is an. It's either. I believe it's either IM. They have two ESPN games this year. No, one ESPN game. I think it's IMG though, Bill. I do believe it's IMG. I don't think it's a Lakeland game. I think it's IMG. But you know what? Speaking of St. Joe's Prep, Kid Campton, great show, guys. St. Joe's Prep class of '71.
Man, you old dude.
Yeah, I thought I was old. I mean, I came here in '94. I graduated in '94 from Nova, but my kids played at Prep for 4 years. Shane and Trey both played there. But hey, thank you for tuning in. Prep Warhawks, baby, all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. And probably, and I won't drag this on. The one reason it may not be on TV is I think they're expecting Lakeland to be down a little because their 50-year coach has retired. He was named the Florida State High School Coach of the Century.
Wow.
And he retired. So maybe they're thinking they're going to be a little down this year, but guess what? They're loaded with talent again.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, maybe that's a good thing for us. I mean, Prep is on a rebuild this year as well. So, I mean, they have 9 starters on the offense coming back, and I think 6 on the defensive side. We lost one of our Trotter boys. He's gone. This other one, Josiah, he's gone.
Yep.
So it's a rebuild year for us, Bill. But I'm surprised we didn't talk about the transfer portal in high school football down in Florida. Maybe that's another topic for another day.
We'll cover that when we talk about Lakeland.
Yes, that's why we mentioned it, Bill. Well, Bill, listen, we'll get out of here. As for myself, Paul Spencer, and of course the legend Bill Furman. Please check him out, Philly Press Box, every Wednesday night, right before this show, 7 p.m. Give him a like out there, guys. They're very knowledgeable, him and Chet. So,
and we're on YouTube as well. Philly Press Box Radio YouTube. You can check us out.
There we go. We're everywhere. Bill, once again, thank you for hopping on, and I will see you next week, brother.
All right, my man.
All right.
Enjoyed it. Thanks.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.